Yeah, I'll play it. What up, Coach? We are back after a 2-week hiatus. How
Yeah,
you doing?
finally back. I was out of town. You're out of town. Now it.
Yeah, now we're back, and it is.
And it will be Saturday night in Death Valley.
All right, Coach. Now we're officially back.
Yes.
You were out of town. I were out of town. I was out of town. But we're back for a good old-fashioned beatdown of the armed forces.
Yeah, you hate doing that, right? But it is what it is.
It is what it is. So how do you make a 62-0 game interesting?
Look, you get a lot of people, playing time. You let Nussmeier get in there and sling it around a little bit. You get young kids playing time. You sharpen up the tip of the spear before you get a sort of week off, and then all the marbles in 2 weeks.
Well, let's start in the back and work our way forward, because I thought it was fun to see Nussmeier play. Came in, played the whole second half. Jayden take another step after halftime. Saw a lot of young guys. Trey Holly getting there.
Yeah,
score a
nice
touchdown.
carry at the end. Yeah,
that was a great carry.
That was such a good block. Like it was such a well executed upfront play. Like he hit that. He was patient. He hit it in the A gap. They ran counter where they pull the guard, the tight end, kick the end. Tight end wraps around, hit the linebacker perfect, and it was just how you draw it up on the whiteboard. It was beautiful.
We've talked about it a lot with Logan Diggs throughout this season, especially because when he's not in there, just the difference between running backs with vision and running backs that don't, like that jump cut at the line and then hit the hole and go.
Just knowing, I always said this because I used to always have running backs sit in with the offensive line. And I thought that if a running back knew what was going on up front, the more he knew, the more he could set up that block. If he knew, hey, these guys are blocking down and combo into the linebacker, well, if you hit the hole too hard, well, that tackle never gets off the block and blocks the linebacker. So some of these guys, that running back room starting to look like they're understanding what's happening up front. And it's pretty to watch.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What'd you think of Nuss?
Hey, here's what he is, right? He slings it around. He's not afraid. Like,
look, the deep ball was beautiful, and then
that's a ball that he notoriously overthrows because it requires a little bit more touch than he's used to having. So it was good to see. Maybe Malik's the only guy who could get to that ball because it was he threw it.
I didn't think he was going because it was coming
in. But it was a beautiful bet. But like, he's fun to watch because usually there's not much on the line, right? And he doesn't really care much about like I'm taking the shot. Different. I'm slinging it. Yeah, but look, he can run this offense. Yeah, I don't think anybody has.
You saw what he is right now, and I think that'll evolve over the next year. Getting ready for next season, when he overthrew that 3rd and 13 by a mile. Yeah, like in the back of the end zone.
He just lacks a little bit of finesse right now and a little bit of touch, and he always wants to fit it in and just fire it in there, which is great. But you do have to learn all the throws, and the one drop off you'll see for sure is obviously what he can do with his feet compared to Daniels. But look, I don't think there's anybody in the country that really can do it like Daniels at that level. Those people you can count on one hand. So
yeah.
So you have to change some things. So
speaking of, Jayden had a beautiful, beautiful game. Let's see, final stats.
It was like 11 for 280, something like that. It was ridiculous. 11 for 17 or something.
11 for 16, 279, 3 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown.
Yeah.
In terms of Jayden's play today, it's par for the course. He did what he's been doing all season.
It is what it is. Notoriously, we used to have this happen all the time. When you play a team where you're better at every position, you kind of do things you uncharacteristically wouldn't do. And I forget, it was a 3rd down. It was over the middle, and he tried to fit a ball in on a deep crossing route early to I think it was Neighbors. and it kind of got tipped. And when you saw the end zone shot, like there's a linebacker underneath, there's a cornerback running with the guy, there's a safety right there. Like against Alabama, that's an interception. But he knows like,
is
oh,
he throwing that against Alabama though? Maybe
no,
not.
that's what I'm saying. Like you when you play these teams, you think you can do sometimes more, and you'll come out of this game sometimes with 1 or 2 interceptions because you're trying to do things you normally wouldn't do. But they didn't for the most part and got away with it. So he's playing at the highest level you can play this position.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about it off air, and so I'll just say it on air. Like, I think he's having as good of a season as Joe Burrow had in 2019. Now, Joe Burrow threw for more touchdowns, but like,
but he's
doing does it in a different way.
But it evens out, right? Like, I mean, let put Jayden Daniels on that team. Does anybody think there's going to be that much of a drop off?
No, I don't think so.
Now I'm not saying that Malik's going to go to the NFL and sort of have the start of a career that Joe had. Maybe he does, but I mean, as far as what you ask a quarterback to do and a guy who can go out and win the game for you, I'm telling you, there's nobody. I watched the Washington game with that guy I forget his name right now. I can't think of it.
Penix, Michael Penix.
Penix. And he's like the Heisman front runner, and he beat Oregon. Great, big deal.
He doesn't look better than Jayden.
Yeah, I don't know that he's playing the position better. Like and the more and more you start to listen and watch stuff, like Jayden's up there. Like he's the number 2 guy for the Heisman. And look, go out and put on a show and beat Alabama. I don't know how you're not the front runner.
Now, look, I think we have a lot of room to talk about this because it was a beatdown. There was not a lot of not much to talk about.
If there's anybody who wants to talk about anything about this game,
right.
Please ask.
Let's throw it in the comments, right? But I want to continue talking about Jayden because you're an offensive coordinator. You have an eye for things like this, okay? And I watched a YouTube video during the week of these analysts ranking like the quarterback prospects for the draft, right? And they had Jayden as this is how they kind of described him. Having a great season. Yeah, I think I'll go day 2. And I'm like, what? Day 2?
I couldn't put less stock in anything some analyst is trying to get a soundbite on
I get
right
that.
now.
So my question to you though is, what do you see of him as a quarterback right now that can easily translate to the NFL? Because there's a lot of great college quarterbacks that their skill set doesn't translate to the NFL.
It's a tough question to ask, right? Because can he get drafted by somebody who knows how to utilize his talents in the NFL, right? Jalen Hurts is being used in the proper way in Philly, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But put him on the Saints right now, just use that as an example, where they're trying to cram everybody into this Drew Brees style offense. Well, then he might be a bust, So. Does he have the ability? He has the arm. I think he has the brain and the knowledge. He never puts the ball really at risk. He can make every throw. I don't know why he doesn't transition to the NFL, assuming he goes to the right coach that knows how to use him. But that holds true for any quarterback in any situation,
right?
But does he have it? Can he go and be an elite quarterback in the NFL? I think so. I think you're watching somebody who's special.
What do you see from him in terms of definitely his development from last year to this year, his development in the season,
his pocket progression? He gets in the pocket. You can see him, and you'll know like he's looking left or right, whatever. But man, when he goes to that second and third read, the whole body moves. It's not just the head. Like he moves his whole body, his hips, his shoulder, so that when he sees that next read, that ball's ready to throw. A lot of young quarterbacks will sort of stand there and everything's pointing downfield when their head kind of turns one way or the other. But then you got to get your body right to throw. Watch his body movement. His body's pointing in the direction where he wants to throw that ball, and it gets out when it needs to. And I mean, like, he doesn't take a whole lot of sacks. He does not put the ball at risk, which is huge for a quarterback, right? He's making good decisions. He understands now that, okay, if I can't take off on my feet, like, let me just check it down, because even if it's 3 yards, 2nd and 7 is a whole different world than 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
So just his progression and calmness in the pocket.
Now, I know for a fact Jayden is the most accurate quarterback when it comes to passes over 20 yards in college football.
Yeah.
How is that valued in
You
the
have to be,
NFL?
because in the NFL, you're seeing way more man coverage, and the windows are smaller, the margins are slimmer, and if you can, the difference between having the guy stretch his arms out fully to catch a ball versus 6 inches shorter, well, that's the difference between the DB touching the ball or not touching the ball. So accuracy in the end, I will take accuracy over arm strength 1,000,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah, and then look,
No questions
Joe
asked.
Burrow didn't have a lot of arm strength.
No, nobody ever was like, "Oh man, that guy's a gunslinger." Like,
Yeah.
he was lethally
Guess who else they didn't say
accurate.
that about? Drew Brees.
Accurate. I
You know?
asked Drew Brees to throw the ball 60 yards. He's just going to put his helmet down and walk off. He's like, "I can't do it."
Yeah.
I don't think he ever could do it. But throw it 45 yards and knock a bottle off someone's helmet. He could do that all day. And people have always used, what's your number one quarterback attribute that you would ever look for? And it's easy answer every time. It's accuracy.
Yeah.
Put the ball where you want to.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to progression of the defense, right? Because, in the second half of that Missouri game, they're pretty stout. And then they did, when Missouri had to have a touchdown, they did march down the field. But I don't know if anyone's checked, but Missouri only has one loss this season, and it's to LSU.
Yeah, that's a good team. That's not the old Missouri you just didn't know anything about. It's a good team.
It was at home. It was raucous. That quarterback is pretty good. They got a great wide receiver. And so LSU definitely progressed in the second half. They were opportunistic. In the Auburn game, they played fairly well, I thought.
Yep.
And now we shut out a terrible team. That's Army. Now, look, I get it. Army's terrible, but how many years in the past has our defense actually pitched a shutout? It's not a lot.
Yeah.
So
here's what I'll say about defensive progression. One, you bring Pete Jenkins back in, whether he's in the grind and digging deep or he's just a raw guy. I mean, he looked like he was coaching. Like as soon as they showed him a couple times, like he's sitting on the bench, in the chair coaching. So I think he's involved. That gives those guys a boost. You see that defensive line getting a lot more pressure than you saw before. I see a lot more 4-man front, and you're not just asking those 3 guys to do it. We look a little bit more simple, right? We're not doing a bunch of exotic stuff, and we're just letting these guys play. And I think that's big. And what you're seeing is, and again, tonight's not a great gauge, but you're seeing a team that's building, and the snowball is rolling, and it's getting a little bigger, and we're playing with a lot of confidence. And you're going to play an Alabama team who is not an offensive juggernaut. So I don't know that they can keep pace. So if you can go to Alabama and just get 3 or 4 stops, that might be all you need. But I think you got a team that's defense on the side of the ball. It's just playing with a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the right time, and a lot of energy. You see a lot more flying around and having fun, and it's showing on the scoreboard.
How much of a change is that moving Perkins around?
You can't solely hang the hat on. That wasn't the sole problem, right? I mean, the DBs were getting mauled.
We were also seeing Mason Smith is a little bit more in shape.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It is going to take a while, right? He hadn't played for a year, come off injury. You're seeing him in shape. You're seeing a few more guys rotate in instead of just, those 3 guys that just sort of seem to be the only guys we wanted to play. And like I said, a lot more even front.
Now, what's interesting is the difference between a healthy player and then a guy playing hurt, or maybe not 100%. Like, for instance, Omar Speights starts out the season. And when he wasn't in there, everybody was like, oh, Wes Weeks, he's got to play. Like, he's 1,000 times better. And then Omar Speights comes back last weekend after taking a few weeks off, fully healthy, and crushes it.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, I mean, how many times you sore from a workout? Like, you know what I'm saying? Then you're going to go work out the next day. You're going to crush that workout. Like, and some of these guys are playing, you don't see this a lot, right? But there's a lot of guys. I bet 2 or 3 guys every week are walking around on crutches for a couple of days, just to keep the weight off and walking boots. Okay, let me ramp up and play again on. That's why I have absolutely no idea how the NFL plays on Sunday and then Thursday.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
nuts.
blows my mind. Like you go get in 6 car wrecks and then want to go do something like 4 days later at the highest level that you're asked to do it. Like that, it's dumb, right? Like, but that's what we're asking these guys to do. So yeah, the difference is huge. Whatever the injury is, could be knee, ankle, hamstring, shoulder. Like, hey, go tackle somebody even though you have a bruised shoulder. But you're going to be a little hesitant. So there's a huge difference.
Yeah. No, we got, let's see, 4 games left. All right. In the season. God, that's sad, right? 66% of the season done. Well, as you look across the landscape, I mean, what's your prediction for LSU finishing up right now? 4 games left.
I'd like to think that they're in position to win them. Can you easily lose, Florida, Alabama? Absolutely. I'm saying?
Which game I think is the worst out of that is the Florida game.
Yeah, because you're coming off the
It's
Alabama
coming off
game.
Alabama,
So,
and I actually
if
feel
if
pretty
you
confident.
lose, you run the risk of them sort of saying, "Oh, I'm shutting it down for the year," and then you lay an
And if
egg
you win,
against
you're
Florida.
tired.
If you win, then that's a tough to get back up again. So, but hey, if they're the team that everybody wanted them to be in the beginning, then those things shouldn't be an issue. It's sort of silly though, right? But we've said it all year, and then you lose, and then we said it, and then we lose again. If you beat Alabama, you're going to more than likely represent the West,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
You'll have that head-to-head. Ole Miss is not beating Georgia,
that's what I was about to say. Georgia's going
so
to be
they'll have two.
yeah.
They'll be eliminated, and so you got the head-to-head loss with Alabama, and you win the West.
Yeah.
Now, even if you beat Georgia, I think there's probably enough other teams that they're not going to take a 2-loss
Yeah, it's a
LSU
crazy
team this year.
but I will say I watched some different football over the past 2 weeks than I would normally watch. A lot more Pac-12 stuff, especially with Washington being fired. I wanted to see what's going on with the Heisman race, and then some Big Ten stuff. Like, first of all, did you watch any of the Ohio State Penn State game?
I caught the end of it, and it looked so
boring.
You know what it
Yes,
looked like? It looked like just exactly what I think or everybody thinks about the Big Ten.
like this
Just
game is
blah
stupid.
offense, blah like everything.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. They were like, "Oh, impressive defense." Like, no, like it was just
it's just
man.
blah.
Yeah, like the
Like,
quarterback
nothing
play is
about
not good. Like, it's not that good.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, look, nobody out there screams we're a dominant team this year. Like, there's no team that you don't watch and be like, they could lose. Somebody can beat them.
Yeah. I mean, like Oregon had a close call against Washington State today. Washington's getting ready to play Arizona State, although Arizona State's terrible.
Arizona State's pretty bad, but
yeah, they're pretty bad.
I think USC just scored to come back. They're up
They
by
did.
1 with like a minute something left.
So this will be interesting here.
I just think it's a bad year to have 2 losses because I think at the end you're going to have enough 1-loss or undefeated teams that even if you beat Georgia's going to be in.
I think Georgia needs a loss heading into the SEC championship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and then you run because then if they take a 2-loss team, it's you.
Yeah.
Us. I still just think if that's the case, if Georgia loses and then we beat them and win the SEC somehow,
you're going to need another
you need other stuff to happen.
Big 10, Pac-12 to have a 2-loss.
Because you're going to have a 1-loss Ohio State, Michigan just sitting there.
Well, just like I saw Oklahoma looked pretty human today, but like they kind of like.
Yeah, who knows what they thought about that?
I mean,
game,
their schedule sucks.
I don't know who they have next or what, but they didn't seem very emotionally involved to play that game.
Yeah. So it's kind of bizarre.
Texas almost, handed that. They should have lost that game.
USC still has to play Washington. I think Washington still has to play Utah. So like,
yeah, they could all knock each other off, and then you got a bunch of 1-loss. Like it's man, what a great year for a 12 team.
Yeah, I know. This is the
just the matchups you would have and the competitive, the landscape to me is just as balanced as it's ever been.
And other people saying it, I'll say it. No one wants to play LSU.
No one ever does, even when we're down. Like, it's just because the guys we have, like, they're scary. And if you just hit and it's clicking, or they decide to have a really on night, like, they could beat anybody.
Yeah, and especially like I don't care what defense you are, you're not shutting the LSU offense down.
No, the commentators said it all night. Like they're like, "Well, how's that matchup?" And they're like, "I don't think anybody can stop LSU. It's just it turns into a track meet,
Yeah.
And if we've got this defensive thing figured out and play well, uh, man, it's just
I
scary."
mean, LSU needs like 2 punts and a turnover and the game's over.
Yeah, if you get one, honestly, if you get one stop a quarter,
Yeah, that's it.
that's it. If you get one stop a quarter, you're not beating LSU.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
not without some crazy other stuff happening. Like you're
Right.
not doing it.
That's pretty wild. So I think we should do I mean, look, I'm gonna give this story. It's one of my best football memories ever. Shane had a bunch of us over and our dads for the LSU Alabama game in 2019.
That was
awesome. That was
got
awesome.
a great picture from that on the
Yeah,
wall.
that was a great time. And so like I love the LSU Alabama game. It's one of my favorite games.
I was trying to think outside of when Auburn and Cam Newton went there. I mean, I feel like to represent the West, I feel like the winner of LSU Alabama has won the West. I couldn't even remember. It might be as recent as like 2 years ago, and I just forgot. But like,
Texas
I can't
A&M
think of any other team.
Texas A&M's never won the West.
No.
Ole Miss has never won the West, at least in recent times.
Yeah,
okay?
I can't think Mississippi State.
Mississippi is
Auburn
not.
with Cam Newton.
I want to say Auburn won it.
They won with Cam Newton because I think they were undefeated that year. But I don't know if it was any other time.
Yeah.
That game is as important to the SEC as there is.
Yeah.
East or West. I mean, the East seems to just have a team who dominates. Florida had a long run. Georgia's having their run. We need a stat guy on this show.
I know where is our stat guy? But anyway, so I if I had to guess, I would say that you and I would probably like to do a preview podcast for this one.
Absolutely.
It has a lot to go on, but real quick, we'll just end this. What are you seeing out of Alabama where they can actually make it a game? Because I don't think it's going to be a game.
They have to be able to run the football and control the clock, right? That's the secret to beat LSU right now, right? Because there's very few. I think even if you play Florida State again, I don't know that they keep up. I think we win that game. I don't know if Florida State wants to play us again. You know what I mean? It's a track meet with LSU's offense, and it's scary. So the only thing is keep the ball. So you've got to be able to run the football successfully and just keep us on the sideline, right? The one place he can't hurt you, Jayden Daniels, is when he's standing on the sideline.
Yeah.
So you need long, sustained drives that eat up the whole quarter and hope you get a stupid tip ball that turns into a short field for you. Those kind of things. Alabama does not want to get in a 50 an Ole Miss type game that we had. They're not winning that game.
They can't.
They don't have the quarterback. They don't have the guys.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think they struggle to run the football, though. I mean, the offensive line is sort of one of the weak points.
Yeah,
in addition to throwing the ball. So,
all right, I got your stats for you. 10 last 20.
Okay.
LSU last year, Alabama 21, Alabama 20, LSU 19, Alabama 18, Auburn 17. Alabama 16, Alabama 15, Alabama 14, Auburn 13, Alabama 12, LSU 11, Auburn, Alabama, LSU, and then finally Arkansas in 2006.
Right. So throwing Auburn 3 times.
LSU's like 5.
LSU a bunch, and then Alabama the rest. So, yeah, the outcome of Alabama LSU is as important of a game to the SEC as possible.
Yeah. So
also, P.S. in 2014, Missouri went. Actually, Missouri went back-to-back, 13 and 14.
Yeah, the East was pretty down.
Yeah, they got hammered, but I 59-42 is not getting hammered, but they didn't win.
They did not win it. All right, Coach, any final thoughts?
No,
for Jayden Daniels leading.
Yeah, this is his moment to sort of take the lead, because if you go there and put on his normal show and win that game on the road, It's kind of like Burrow, right? That was sort of the launching pad that said, okay, whoa.
Look,
Right?
Lamar Jackson had two or three losses when he won the Heisman, and so
Yeah.
did Robert Griffin III.
Yeah,
So.
you go put on a show here and then go.
Oh, so did Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, and then you go represent the West, and even if you lose to Georgia, but you still put on that show, you win the Heisman.
Yeah.
If not, then that trophy's a fraud.
All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Louisiana Saturday night. We'll see you during the week next week for the preview pod. Take it easy.
Later.